Okay, good evening, class. Uh, Thank you. Welcome to our today's session. Last time, in our last lesson, we introduced workshop practice as a title, and we were able to discuss safety measures and as well as equipment that we use in the workshop. And we were able to also classify them into different categories, in which case we were able to identify measuring instruments, marking out tools, cutting tools, fastening tools, and finishing tools. In our today's lesson, we are going to narrow down to measuring and inspection tools, in which case we shall be able to identify them. So our first objective today is that by the end of the lesson, learners should be able to define terms, measuring instrument, and objective number 2 is to be able to identify uh, and measuring and inspection tools and equipment. Let's start with the definition. Measuring tools are equipment used for taking dimensions on workpiece in the workshop for purposes of design, construction, fabrication, and inspection or checking accuracy of workmanship in the workshop. Today we are going to mention at least 4 instruments, which will include the vernier caliper, micrometer screw gauge, the steel rule, and combination set. We shall be able to handle the remaining uh, instruments in the coming lessons. Let's start with the micrometer screw gauge. If you can see my screen, there is a very clear diagram showing the micrometer screw gauge. You can see on your right or on your top left, there is an anvil, there is a spindle, and the two give you a gap of 0.462 centimeters. The micrometer screw gauge has a frame, which is a U frame for holding both the spindle and the anvil in place. Then there is a sleeve where we have the main scale uh, of the screw gauge. Then we have the micrometer screw, a scale, which is just held on the other side by the thimble. There is a ratchet for adjusting the instrument. Uh, the one major use of micrometer screw gauge is measuring outside diameter of thin rods such as wires. The accuracy of micrometer screw gauge is 0.001 centimeters. Hope you are getting me. Thank you. Let's continue. The second instrument is a combination set. We shall get into the details of explaining the real work when we are operating them in the workshop. Today we are just identifying them. You can see the combination combination set as a combination of instruments that can be used even independently. But now here they are bound together by different mechanisms to ensure it is a complete machine which can measure levelness by use of the spirit level. It can measure the angles by use of the protractor head. You can also use the perpendicularity and squareness by use of the square head. And you remember the revolving head can give you different, can enable you to adjust the protractor into different angles so that you're able to have accuracy in your workshop. Then we have the other instrument that we are going to look at is the vernier caliper. You can see the clear diagram of the vernier caliper. It has two jaws. There is the upper jaw, which is also called the inside jaw, used for measuring inside diameter of pipes or rods in the workshop. Then we have the lower jaws, which is also called the outside jaws for measuring outside diameter of metal rods, usually on circular rods. Then the micrometer also has this the length, which is the main scale, giving you the main scale, which is graduated in centimeters or in inches, depending on the manufacturer. The lock nut is used to make sure your work is properly secured when you are taking measurements. So the three jobs are the measuring of outside diameter, inside diameter, and depth of a hole. Maybe when you want to drill a hole, you can measure the depth, then you mark and you drill. After that, you check whether the hole has been properly drilled by using the depth rod. The last instrument we are going to look at today is the steel rule, a very common instrument in the workshops and also in our homes for measuring length of workpiece in the workshop. And by using this instrument, you will be able to make measurements either in inches, or you can also use the upper scale. You can see it is centimeters, and on the lower scale you can measure in inches. This steel rule as a hole, a round hole, for securing it, for hanging it. Either you're hanging it on the wall to ensure that it is not, the measurements are not scrapped by other material which could distort its nature. Then it is made of steel, stainless steel, to ensure it can retain the graduations even when the temperatures are slightly not within norm, but you should operate under recommended temperatures so that you can ensure it is effective in the measurements. Otherwise, for now, we are going to have only those instruments. We shall be able to handle other instruments in our coming lessons. Maybe just to ask, is there any question? Thank you, Moses. What did we learn today? Well done. Well done. Are you there? Yeah, tell me something. Yes, yes. Thank you very much. We have also learned about the micrometer screw gauge, which normally will help us in measuring the the outside diameter of circular elements in the workshop. Actually, it doesn't deal with the big rods, which can be measured with other instruments, just the ones that have a small diameter. Any other idea, Coril? Coril, are you around? Okay. So, otherwise, I would like to appreciate your attendance to our today's lesson. And before we leave, I would like to leave you with an assignment which you're going to handle in your discussion groups, uh, so that in our next lesson we shall move with speed to actually identify the real instruments in the workshop. So the assignment is draw well-labeled diagrams of the following workshop tools and equipment and explain their uses. Instrument number 1, vernier height gauge, 15 marks. Instrument number 2, dial test gauge, 10 marks. I repeat, draw well-labeled diagram of the following workshop tools and equipment and explain their uses. 1, vernier height gauge, 15 marks. Dial test gauge, 10 marks. Anybody with a question? Thank you, well done. If there is no question, I would like to thank you very much for your participation and teamwork. And I wish you a good time. Bye for now. The end. Okay. Thank you.